He found her daughter cleaning his mansion at 2 a.m., covered in bruises she couldn't explain. That night, a feared billionaire enforcer discovered a truth that would break him, and set off a chain of events he could never walk away from. Before we dive in, tell me, where are you watching from right now? I love seeing where everyone's tuning in from. The mansion was silent, so silent that even the marble floors seemed to echo their own coldness. It was past midnight, 12:14 a.m., and Damien Moretti had just returned from a long, tense meeting with people he didn't trust. His shoulders were stiff, his jaw tight, and his patience almost gone. He walked toward the kitchen, expecting the usual stillness. But as he turned the corner, he stopped so suddenly that his breath caught. Someone, a very small someone, was on the floor with a bucket, scrubbing like her life depended on it. Damien narrowed his eyes. A little girl. No older than 9. Wearing a faded sweater 2 sizes too big and jeans that were torn at the knee. Her hair was tied in a messy ponytail, and her thin arms shook with every scrub. The bucket beside her was almost empty, the water already grey. The girl hadn't seen him yet. She worked quickly, almost desperately, like she was racing against time. Damien stepped forward quietly, but his voice was firm. "Hey!" The girl froze. Completely. Her hand stayed mid-scrub, and her tiny shoulders tightened. Slowly, she lifted her head. Her eyes were wide, big brown eyes filled with fear. The kind of fear Damien knew all too well. She blinked rapidly, holding back tears, and pushed herself to her feet. I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'll finish quickly. Please. Don't get mad." Damien frowned. "What are you doing here? And where is your mother?" "She's the one assigned to clean." The girl's lip trembled. She lowered her gaze like she was ashamed to even speak. "My mom, she couldn't come today." "Why not?" Damien asked, his voice softer but still serious. The girl swallowed hard. "She's hurt." Hurt? That word hit Damien like a punch. He stepped closer. "What do you mean she's hurt? What happened?" "I can't tell you," she whispered quickly. Her hands twisted the hem of her sweater. "Please don't fire her. I came instead. I can clean. I promise." Damien stared at her, confused and a little stunned. This girl, barely tall enough to reach the kitchen counter, came alone to his mansion. At midnight. To clean floors she could barely lift the bucket for. "Look at me," he said gently. She hesitated, then raised her head again. That's when Damien saw it. A bruise. Dark purple. Peeking from under her sleeve. He stepped closer and lightly touched her arm. The girl instantly flinched. Damien's voice dropped. "Dark. Dangerous. Who hurt you?" "No one," she cried quickly. "I fell. I trip a lot. I'm clumsy." A lie. A practiced one. Damien had heard hundreds of lies in his life. This one hurt to hear. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lila," she murmured. "My name is Lila." "Lila," Damien said, crouching so he was not towering over her. "Kids don't end up in kitchens at midnight unless something is very wrong. Tell me the truth." Her eyes watered. She shook her head fast. "If I tell you, he will get mad." "He?" Damien repeated. "Who is he?" She hugged herself. Tears fell silently. She didn't answer. Damien's jaw tightened. A cold anger rose inside him, an anger that scared most people. But not Lila. She was already too scared of someone else. "Where is your mother now?" he asked softly. "At home." She couldn't stand up. She was crying and said she failed. She failed again. Lila wiped her nose. "So I came here. I didn't want her to lose her job. We need it." Damien felt something inside him shift, something he hadn't felt in years. Protectiveness. "You should not be doing this," he said quietly. "I know," she whispered. "But it was the only way." Damien exhaled slowly, then stood. He reached for her hand. "Come with me." She pulled back slightly. "Are you angry? At you?" "No," he said firmly. "Never at you." Her little hand trembled as she placed it in his. He held it gently, careful not to touch the bruises. As they walked out of the kitchen, Lila asked in a tiny voice, "Am I fired?" Damien looked down at her. You can't fire a child, Lila. And your mother, she still has her job. Relief washed over her face so quickly she almost cried again. They reached the front hall where Damien called his security detail. Get the car, he ordered. Now. Lila looked up nervously. Are you taking me home? Yes. But what if he's there? She whispered. Damien's voice went cold. Then I'll handle him. Her eyes widened, but she didn't argue. She clung to his hand until they reached the car. As Damien helped her into the back seat, her sleeve lifted again. This time he saw more than one bruise. Several. Different sizes. Different colors. He shut the door and stood outside for a moment, breathing hard. Whoever did this. Whoever laid a hand on this child. They had no idea the storm they had awakened. He stepped into the car, looked at Lila, and said softly, No one will hurt you again. I promise. Lila nodded weakly, trusting him in a way that made his chest tighten. As the car drove off, Damien's eyes hardened. Tonight, he would discover the truth. And someone would pay for it. Lila directed the driver toward a small apartment complex on the poorer side of the city. Damien had passed this area many times, but he never imagined his maid lived here. The outside was cracked, dimly lit, and had peeling paint on every wall. When the car stopped, Lila looked nervous again. She's inside, she whispered. But she told me not to come back until morning. Damien opened the door. You're a child. You shouldn't be outside at night. Stay beside me. She nodded and grabbed his coat sleeve like it was a lifeline. They walked up the short path to the apartment door. Damien knocked once. No answer. He knocked again, louder. Still nothing. Lila's face drained of color. She always answers. Always. Damien didn't hesitate. He tried the doorknob. Locked. He turned to his security guard. Break it. The guard stepped forward and kicked the door. It flew open. Lila ran inside immediately. Mom. Mom. Damien followed closely, his eyes scanning the dim room. It smelled of spilled food and tears, old tears. Then he saw her. Elena. She lay on the floor next to the couch, one hand pressed to her ribs, the other reaching weakly toward her daughter. Lila, she whispered painfully. You were supposed to stay at the mansion. Lila dropped to her knees beside her. Mom, I'm sorry. I had to clean for you. I didn't want you to be fired. Elena touched her daughter's face, wincing with every breath. I told you not to come back tonight. Damien stepped forward. Elena saw him and froze. Mr. Moretti, she breathed. Her eyes filled with fear and humiliation. I'm sorry. I couldn't come today. Please don't fire me. I'll work double tomorrow. I'll. Stop, Damien said firmly. You need help. Now. No, please, Elena begged, shaking her head. We can't afford. Damien cut her off. I didn't ask what you can afford. I'm taking you to the hospital. Elena looked horrified. No. If he finds out I talked to a doctor. Damien stepped closer, voice calm but deadly serious. If who finds out? Elena shut her eyes tightly. She didn't answer. But Damien already knew. The abuser. The ghost behind the bruises. The reason Lila came to work at midnight. Elena, Damien continued, softer this time, you're injured. You need medical treatment. This is not negotiable. I can't, she whispered through tears. Please don't make this worse. Lila looked between them, crying. Mom, please. You're in pain. Elena's resolve broke instantly at her daughter's voice. She exhaled a shaky breath and nodded faintly. Okay. Damien leaned down carefully, sliding one arm behind her back and the other under her knees. Wait, no, Elena protested weakly. I can walk. No, you can't, Damien said gently. Let me help. He lifted her easily. She was lighter than she should have been, too thin, too fragile. As he carried her, her head rested against his chest. Lila followed closely, sniffing, trying to wipe her tears away. Damien placed Elena in the back seat of the car. Lila held her mother's hand, refusing to let go. When the doors closed, Damien sat in the front and spoke quietly to his driver. Go. And don't stop for anything. As the car pulled away, Elena whispered to her daughter, I'm so sorry, Lila. I'm sorry you had to clean. It's okay, Mom, Lila whispered back. Mr. Moretti wasn't mad. Elena looked toward the front seat hesitantly. He should be. I failed him. Damien turned slightly. The only failure here is the man who hurt you. Elena's eyes widened. Please don't get involved. He'll come after you. He comes after anyone who talks to me. Damien's voice went cold. He won't come after anyone ever again. Elena shook her head. You don't understand him. Damien looked at her in the rearview mirror, his jaw sharp, his eyes burning with a quiet fury. No, he said calmly. You don't understand me. Elena fell silent. At the hospital, doctors rushed them in. Elena winced with every breath as they examined her. Lila sat beside her, holding her hand. Damien stood at the door like a stone statue, watching, thinking, planning. The doctor came out after 20 minutes. She has 2 cracked ribs, heavy bruising, a sprained wrist, and signs of repeated physical trauma. Damien's fists clenched at his sides. Will she recover? Yes, the doctor said. But she needs rest. No stress. No physical work. And someone needs to keep an eye on her. Damien nodded once. I'll do it. Elena looked up sharply from the bed. No. You've done enough. I can take care of myself. You clearly can't, Damien said, his voice firm. And your daughter shouldn't have to. Elena's eyes filled with shame. Tears formed. I never wanted her to see me like this, she whispered. Damien walked closer, his expression softening. You don't need to carry this alone anymore. Elena shook her head. This is my problem, not yours. Damien leaned forward slightly. Elena, from this moment on, you and Lila are under my protection. Her breath caught. Why? Why would you do that for me? Damien held her gaze for a long moment. Because no one, he said quietly, hurts a woman or child under my roof and walks away. Elena's lips trembled. She didn't know what to say. Lila looked at Damien like he was a hero in a storybook. The doctor returned with papers. Damien took them, signed whatever needed signing, and arranged for Elena to stay overnight. Before leaving the room, Damien turned to them one more time. Rest, he said softly. Tomorrow, you're both coming with me. Elena's eyes widened. Coming where? To my house, Damien replied simply. Where you'll be safe. And with that, he walked out, leaving mother and daughter speechless. But one thing was certain. Nothing in their lives would ever be the same again. The next morning, the hospital was quiet except for the soft beeping of machines. Sunlight slipped through the blinds, falling gently across Elena's tired face. She looked fragile, too fragile for a woman who had been fighting for survival for so long. Lila sat curled on the chair beside her, sleeping in a small ball with her head on her mother's arm. Her tiny fingers were wrapped tightly around Elena's wrist, as if she feared letting go would make her mother disappear. Elena brushed her daughter's cheek with her good hand, tears forming in her eyes. She whispered softly, You shouldn't have to live like this, baby. I'm so sorry. Before she could cry, the door opened quietly. Damien Moretti stepped inside. He was dressed sharply even this early, dark suit, crisp shirt, no tie. But his expression wasn't cold today. It held a strange mix of worry and something she couldn't name. Good morning, he said in a gentle tone Elena had never heard from him before. She swallowed hard. Mr. Moretti, I didn't expect you to come so early. I didn't sleep much, he replied. I wanted to make sure you were all right. Elena blinked, surprised. Powerful men like Damien didn't check on maids. They didn't wait in hospitals. They didn't bring children home. Yet here he was. He walked over to Lila, who stirred awake when she sensed movement. Hi, Damien said softly. Lila rubbed her eyes. Mr. Moretti, did you sleep? Not really, he admitted. You should sleep, she said simply. Damien smiled, an expression that surprised even him. I'll try later. He turned back to Elena. Your test results came in. You'll recover fully, but you need rest. No heavy lifting. No cleaning. Nothing physical. The doctor was very clear. Elena nodded, embarrassed. I know. I'll find a way to manage when I get home. You're not going home, Damien said immediately. Elena tensed. Mr. Moretti. I told you last night. You're both coming with me. Elena shook her head. I can't live in your house. That's insane. You're my employer, not. Your safety matters more than job titles, Damien interrupted. His voice was calm but firm. Elena looked away. She hated how weak she felt. She hated needing help. I can't be a burden to you. Damien stepped closer, his eyes meeting hers with steady intensity. You are not a burden. You're a human being who deserves safety. Elena's lips trembled. She looked down, unable to speak. Lila tugged on her sleeve. Mom, can we go? I feel safe in his house. Damien froze for a second at those words. Safe. No one ever said they felt safe with him. Not in years. He cleared his throat and gently brushed Lila's hair. You'll both be safe. I promise. Elena took a shaky breath. She knew she didn't have many options. And she had seen the deadly seriousness in Damien's eyes the night before. He wasn't offering. He was deciding. Okay, she whispered. We'll go. Damien nodded once, relieved. The discharge process took an hour. Damien handled every document, every instruction, every payment. He didn't let Elena lift a finger. When the nurse handed Elena a prescription, she said, take these with food. And please avoid stress. Damien's quiet voice responded before Elena could speak. I'll make sure she has both. Elena blushed slightly, unsure how she felt about Damien speaking for her. They left the hospital through a private exit. 2 black SUVs waited outside. A man in a suit opened the back door for Elena. Damien steadied her as she got in carefully, and Lila climbed in after her. Before entering the car, Damien spoke to his men in a low voice. Double security. No one gets near them. No exceptions. Yes, sir. He sat in the front seat beside the driver. Take us home. As the car moved, Lila leaned against her mother's side, eyes wide as buildings sped past. Mom, we're going to live in a mansion. Elena brushed her daughter's cheek. It's only temporary. Lila nodded, though she looked disappointed. Elena looked at Damien through the mirror. Thank you, for everything. He didn't look back. His voice remained steady. You don't need to thank me. But truthfully, hearing gratitude from her warmed something in him he didn't expect. When they arrived at Damien's mansion, Elena inhaled sharply. She had worked here every day, but she had never entered through the grand doors, not as a guest, not as someone welcomed. The foyer was massive, with a tall chandelier, polished marble floors, and walls lined with beautiful artwork. Lila's eyes sparkled. It's so big. Damien turned to Elena. You'll stay in the guest wing. It's private and quiet. Elena hesitated. Isn't that for important people? He frowned slightly. You are important. She blinked, stunned again. He led them down the hall, past a series of doors. Behind one door was a large bedroom with a queen bed, warm lighting, and soft cream-colored sheets. For the first time in months, it didn't smell like fear or pain. This is your room, Damien said. I had it prepared last night. Elena touched the soft blanket with shaking fingers. It's beautiful. He opened the next door. This one is for Lila. The room was bigger than their entire apartment. Light blue walls. A soft rug. A small desk. A shelf filled with children's books. Plush toys. A window seat. Lila gasped. Is this for me? Damien nodded. You can bring anything you want from home, too. Lila ran into the room, touching everything with awe. I love it. Elena's throat tightened. She looked down, ashamed. She's never had anything like this. Damien's expression softened. Children should have safety and comfort, Elena. It's not luxury. It's basic humanity. She nodded slowly, tears burning her eyes. Before she collapsed emotionally, Damien said, You need rest. I'll have food brought to your room. If you need anything, tell my staff. You're safe here. Elena looked at him, really looked at him, and whispered, "Thank you." Damien held her gaze for a moment, then nodded once and walked away, his footsteps echoing down the hall. As Lila ran around her new room excitedly, Elena sank onto the bed and let the tears fall silently. For the first time in years, she cried not from fear, but from relief. And somewhere else in the mansion, Damien stood alone in his office, staring out the window, hands clenched behind his back. He whispered to himself, "Whoever hurt them will regret it." Elena woke hours later, feeling strange. Her body still hurt, but the room around her was peaceful. Sunlight filtered through long curtains, and birds chirped softly outside. She wasn't used to waking up without yelling, banging, or fear of who might be standing outside her bedroom door. For a few seconds, she forgot where she was. Then she saw the soft sheets, the quiet hallway, the luxurious room. Damien's house. Her heart fluttered nervously. This was all temporary. It had to be. A knock sounded at the door. She sat up quickly. "Come in." The door opened, and a tall, older woman walked in carrying a tray. "Good morning," she said with a warm smile. "I'm Maria, Mr. Moretti's head housekeeper. He asked me to bring you breakfast." The tray smelled amazing: fresh eggs, fruit, warm bread, and tea. Elena felt her eyes sting again. I'm not used to this." Maria smiled kindly. "Then it's about time you were treated well." Elena ate slowly as Maria tidied the room. "Where is Lila?" Elena asked. "In the study with Mr. Moretti," Maria said. Elena's heart jumped. "Lila? With him? Is she all right?" "Oh, yes," Maria laughed. "She's chatting his ear off." Elena covered her mouth, shocked. Maria added with a grin, "Mr. Moretti isn't used to children, but it seems your daughter has him wrapped around her little finger." When Elena finished eating, she stood carefully and walked to the study. She paused at the door when she heard voices. "Lila, Mr. Moretti, why do you have so many books? Do you read all of them?" "Damien, not all. But most." "Lila, you're smart." "Damien, sometimes." Lila giggled. Elena smiled softly and entered. Lila ran to her. "Mom. He showed me his secret room." Damien raised an eyebrow. "It's not secret." Lila shrugged. "It looks secret." Elena gave him a grateful smile. "Thank you for keeping her company." Damien nodded. She was good company. Lila grabbed her mother's hand. "Mom, can we stay here forever?" Elena's heart twisted. "No, sweetie, this is only for a while." Damien looked away, something unreadable in his eyes. Before Elena could say more, one of Damien's guards appeared at the door. "Sir," the guard said quietly, "we have a problem." Damien's demeanor changed instantly. His expression hardened. "Talk." The guard whispered something into Damien's ear. Damien's eyes turned sharp and cold. Elena watched, worried. "What's wrong?" Damien didn't answer immediately. He dismissed the guard and turned back to her. "There's someone looking for you," he said carefully. Elena froze. Who?" Damien's jaw tightened. "The man who hurt you." Elena felt faint. "Caleb." Damien nodded. "He was seen near your apartment this morning. He was angry. Breaking things. Shouting your name." Elena covered her mouth, trembling. Lila clung to her. Damien stepped closer, voice low but strong. "He will not get near you. Not here. Not ever." Elena shook her head. "You don't know him. He doesn't stop. He won't care that you're powerful." Damien looked her in the eyes with calm, chilling certainty. "Let him try." Elena's breath caught. She wasn't used to anyone standing for her, protecting her, fighting for her. Damien continued, "He's already being watched. If he comes within a mile of this property, I'll know." Elena felt a strange mix of fear and comfort. Lila whispered, "Is he coming here?" "No," Damien said firmly. "He wouldn't get past the front gate." Elena sat down slowly. "I don't want you involved. I don't want anyone hurt because of me." Damien crouched in front of her, meeting her eyes. "Elena, listen to me carefully." She looked up, trembling. "You are not responsible for the actions of a violent man. He chose to hurt you. He chose to terrorize your daughter. And I choose to stop him. Her breath faltered. Why would you do that? Damien hesitated. The truth surfaced before he could stop it. Because no one protected me when I needed it, he said softly. And I won't let that happen to you. Elena stared at him, stunned. He stood again, towering but calm. I need you to trust me. She whispered, I do. For the first time, Damien allowed himself to smile, a small, gentle smile meant only for her. That afternoon, Lila settled quickly into her new environment. She played in the garden, explored hallways, and followed Maria around the kitchen like a curious kitten. Meanwhile, Elena tried to rest, but her mind wouldn't stop racing. Memories of Caleb stormed through her thoughts, his shouting, his grip on her wrist, the pain, the fear. Would he come? Would he try to take Lila? Would he hurt Damien? Her stomach twisted. She walked to the balcony to breathe fresh air. Below, Damien stood with his security team, giving instructions with a stern, commanding voice. His posture was powerful, composed, ready for war. When he looked up and saw Elena watching, his expression softened instantly. He excused himself from the team and walked upstairs to her. You shouldn't worry, he said gently. I can't help it, she admitted. He leaned on the balcony railing beside her. You're safe here. I promise you. I've never been safe, Elena whispered. Not for a long time. Damien looked at her with a seriousness that made her heart pound. You are now. For a moment, they simply stood there, breathing in the quiet air as if sharing the same heartbeat. Down below, security cameras blinked red lights. And outside the mansion's tall gates, hidden from sight, a shadow moved. Someone was watching. But Damien Moretti didn't know it yet. And neither did Elena. Yet the trouble approaching them would soon change everything. The next morning arrived with a calmness that didn't match the storm Damien felt brewing inside him. He stood in his office, staring at security footage from the night before, angles of the front gate, the perimeter, the nearby roads. His jaw tightened each time he saw a flicker of movement on the screen. Caleb had hovered near Elena's old apartment. He had screamed her name, pounded on the walls, threatened neighbors. And then, he vanished. Damien's mind worked like a machine. If Caleb was desperate enough to make a scene, then desperate enough to disappear immediately after, it meant he was planning something. Something reckless. Something dangerous. Damien looked toward the guest wing where Elena and Lila were still asleep. He felt a strange pull in his chest. Protecting them had become a responsibility he didn't question. A responsibility he wanted. He closed his laptop and left the office. In the kitchen, Maria was making breakfast when Damien entered. You're up early, she commented gently. I didn't sleep, he said simply. Maria sighed. She's still scared, you know. Damien paused. Elena? Yes. She tries not to show it, but I've worked with too many women like her. Fear doesn't go away overnight. Damien clenched his jaw. He won't get near her again. Maria nodded. I believe you. She needs someone strong on her side. Damien didn't reply. Instead, he went to check on Lila. He found her sitting on the floor of her room, putting crayons into neat lines. She looked up. Hi, Mr. Moretti. He smiled lightly. Morning, Lila. You're walking softly, she said. Are you trying not to wake Mom? Damien chuckled softly. Yes, something like that. Lila went back to arranging her crayons. She had bad dreams, she said quietly. The smile faded from Damien's face. Nightmares. Lila nodded. She always does when he's mad. She didn't say Caleb's name. She didn't need to. Damien knelt down next to her. Your mom is safe here. Lila looked up with big, serious eyes. If he finds us, will you stop him? Yes, Damien said without hesitation. How? Whatever it takes. Lila studied his face for a moment, searching for something. Finally, she nodded, as if she had decided Damien was trustworthy again. You're strong, she said. Damien almost laughed. Is that so? Yeah. You walk like a superhero. She stood up straighter and puffed out her chest. Big shoulders. serious face. Then she glared dramatically and crossed her arms. "Don't mess with me," she growled, pretending to imitate him. Damien couldn't help laughing. "That's how you see me." "It's true," she said seriously. "You look scary but, not to me." That one sentence hit him somewhere deep, somewhere old. Not to me. Later that morning, Elena woke to warm sunlight and the quiet hum of the mansion. The room felt almost too peaceful. She sat up slowly, wincing slightly at the still healing ribs. After dressing in the soft clothes Maria had brought her, Elena stepped into the hallway. She found Damien sitting in the living room, tying his cufflinks. She paused at the doorway. "You're dressed like you're going somewhere important." Damien looked up. "I have a business event today. I need to make an appearance." "Oh," she said, trying to sound neutral. "We won't be in the way." "You're coming with me," he said simply. Elena blinked. "What?" Damien stood. "It's a dinner. People will ask questions if I come alone. And it will send a message if you're seen with me." Elena shook her head. "No. I can't go to a rich people's dinner like this." She gestured at her simple clothes, her tired eyes, the healing bruises she tried to hide with makeup. Damien walked toward her slowly. "I already have something for you." She frowned. "For me?" He nodded at Maria, who hurried away and returned with a long garment bag draped over her arm. Elena's eyes widened. "What is that?" Damien nodded at Maria, who unzipped it. Inside was a dress. A beautiful, simple, elegant black dress made of soft flowing fabric. Not flashy. Not loud. Just perfect. Elena's breath caught. "I can't wear that." "You can. And you will," Damien said calmly. Elena shook her head again. "What about Lila?" "She will stay here. Maria and the staff will watch her." Lila peeked into the room at that exact moment. "Where's Mommy going?" "To dinner," Damien said. "With you?" Lila asked excitedly. Elena blushed. "It's not like that, sweetie." Lila shrugged. "Looks like it." Damien coughed lightly. "She's coming with me because she'll be safer tonight by my side." Elena exhaled slowly. "Fine. But I don't want to embarrass you." Damien stepped closer, gently lifting her chin with 2 fingers so she looked at him. "You could never embarrass me," he said softly. Her heart skipped a beat. That afternoon, Elena prepared for the dinner with Maria's help. She changed into the black dress. It hugged her gently, flattering without revealing. Her hair was brushed into loose waves, and Maria applied light makeup to hide the bruises. When Elena stepped into the hallway, Damien froze. He had seen beautiful women before. Many. But something about Elena, wearing confidence for the first time in years, it made something inside him tighten. "Wow," Lila whispered from behind him. Elena blushed. "Does it look bad?" Damien shook his head slowly. "Not at all." He extended his hand. "Shall we go?" Elena hesitated before placing her hand in his. His touch was warm, steadying. The event was held in a luxurious hotel. High ceilings. Crystal chandeliers. People in gowns and tuxedos. Business executives. Politicians. Dangerous men with charming faces. Elena clutched Damien's arm nervously. "I don't belong here." "Yes, you do," he whispered. They entered the ballroom. Instantly, eyes turned toward them. Whispers rose. "Is that Moretti? Who's the woman?" "New girlfriend." "She's beautiful." "She looks fragile." "She looks terrified." Damien squeezed her hand slightly. "Ignore them." A man in a grey suit approached with a charming smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Damien," he said warmly. "I didn't expect to see you tonight." "Marco," Damien replied coolly. Marco looked at Elena with interest. "And who is this lovely woman?" Damien's voice dropped an octave. "Someone under my protection." Marco raised his brows. "Ah, that kind of protection." Damien's eyes flashed dangerously. "Watch your tone." Marco lifted his hands in surrender. "Of course. No disrespect." Elena felt Damien's tension. She whispered, "It's okay." "It's not," Damien said softly. "People like him need to know you're not to be touched, even with a word. Throughout the night, Damien introduced Elena around the room, but always with a protective, serious tone. Anyone with bad intentions stayed far away from her. Elena whispered to him at one point, "Why do these people fear you so much?" "Because they should," he replied. Later, as they sat at a small table near the edge of the room, Damien looked at her and said, "You're doing well." "I feel like I'm shaking on the inside," she admitted. "You hide it well." Elena looked down at her hands. "Thank you for bringing me." "I didn't bring you," Damien said gently. "I wanted you here." Her face warmed. She didn't know what to say. For the first time in years, she felt seen. Hours later, as they prepared to leave, Damien's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and his expression changed from calm to ice. Elena immediately knew something was wrong. "What happened?" Damien lowered his voice. "Caleb. He was spotted again." Elena's stomach dropped. "Where?" Damien leaned in. "Near my property." Her blood ran cold. "He's getting closer," Damien said quietly. Elena felt her knees weaken. He reached out and held her steady. "It's okay," Damien whispered. "I'm here." She nodded slowly, but her heart hammered with fear. Damien turned toward his driver. "Get the car. Now." They left the event quickly, and for the rest of the night, Damien didn't leave Elena's side. Back at the mansion, after Elena changed into comfortable clothes, Damien knocked softly on her door. She opened it, surprised. "Are you okay?" "I should be asking you that." Elena swallowed. "I'm scared." Damien stepped closer. "You're safe here." She hesitated, then asked quietly, "What if he comes here?" Damien held her gaze, voice steady and unshakable. "Then he'll have to go through me." Elena's breath hitched. She didn't know why she suddenly wanted to cry. Maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe it was relief. Maybe it was Damien's protectiveness, something she had never experienced in her life. She whispered, "Why do you care this much?" Damien looked at her for a moment before answering. "Because no one cared about me when I needed it," he murmured. "And I won't let that be your story." Elena stared at him. Slowly, she nodded. "Good night, Damien," she whispered. "Good night, Elena." He turned to leave. But before he could step away, he glanced back at her, his eyes soft, his voice rough. "You look beautiful tonight." Elena's heart stumbled. She closed the door with trembling hands. On the other side of the mansion, Damien walked away, fists clenched, trying to control the storm inside his chest. He didn't know when it happened. He didn't know how. But he was beginning to care about Elena in ways that were dangerous. And he didn't know how to stop. The next morning began quietly, but too quietly. Elena woke early and walked into the kitchen, hoping to help Maria with breakfast even though Damien told her to rest. Maria smiled warmly. "Feeling better?" "Yes," Elena said. "A little." Maria handed her tea. "You look nervous." Elena nodded. Damien said Caleb was seen again. "I can't stop worrying." Maria squeezed her hand. "Mr. Moretti won't let anything happen to you. Trust him." Elena sipped her tea slowly. "I'm trying." Maria's expression softened. "You care about him, don't you?" Elena almost choked. "What?" "No, I mean, he's my boss, he's just helping me." Maria smirked. "He's helped many people before. But he never looks at anyone the way he looks at you." Elena's heart raced. "I don't. I can't think about that." Before Maria could reply, Damien walked into the kitchen. He wasn't dressed in a suit today. He wore a black shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows, exposing strong forearms, and dark jeans. Without trying, he looked dangerous. Strong. Protective. "Good morning," he said, his tone softer when he looked at Elena. "Good morning," she whispered. Lila bounced into the room. "Mr. Moretti." Maria said, "We can make pancakes." Damien blinked. "We?" "Yes." Lila grabbed his arm. "You're helping." "I don't cook," Damien said, a bit alarmed. Lila giggled. "You can stir." "That isn't cooking." Maria handed Damien a bowl. "Stir." Damien sighed, took the bowl, and began stirring slowly like someone afraid of breaking the spoon. Lila burst into laughter. You look scared. I'm not, Damien said defensively. You are, Lila teased. Elena covered her mouth to hide her smile. For a few moments, the kitchen felt like a real home. Warm. Safe. Full of laughter. But safety never lasted long in their world. Later that afternoon, Elena had an appointment with a lawyer Damien recommended to discuss restraining orders and custody protections. Damien insisted she go with his driver and security guard. Are you sure you don't want to come? She asked. I have a meeting, Damien said reluctantly. But you'll be back before I finish. He stepped closer to her, his voice low. If you feel uncomfortable, call me. If you feel unsafe, call me. If anything seems wrong, call me. I will, Elena said softly. Lila hugged her tightly. Come back fast, Mommy. Elena kissed her daughter's forehead. I will. The meeting went smoothly. The lawyer was kind and professional. Elena felt hopeful for the first time in years. As she walked out of the building toward the parking area, she felt a sudden chill. The air was too still. The street too quiet. Her instincts buzzed like alarms. Her guard opened the car door for her. She stepped toward it. And suddenly someone grabbed her from behind. A hand clamped over her mouth. A strong arm locked around her waist. Elena's scream died in her throat. Her eyes widened in terror. Caleb. She felt his breath on her ear, hot and hateful. Thought you could hide from me, he hissed. Thought I wouldn't find you. Elena struggled wildly, but he dragged her back, forcing her toward a black van. Her guard shouted, Hey, let her go. Caleb's accomplice rushed forward, tackling the guard to the ground. Elena kicked, scratched, fought desperately, but Caleb was too strong. You belong to me, he snarled. You're coming home. Suddenly, a gunshot cracked through the air. Caleb jerked. Elena screamed as she broke free and fell to the ground. Her guard had fired a warning shot, not a killing one, but enough to make Caleb back away. Get in the car, the guard shouted. Elena scrambled to her feet, chest heaving, and ran to the guard's side. Caleb spat on the ground. This isn't over. He jumped into the van, and it sped away, tires screeching. Elena collapsed against the car, shaking violently. The guard grabbed her shoulders. Are you hurt? No, she whispered. Tears streamed down her face. I'm not hurt. But he tried to take me. He tried to take me. The guard quickly called Damien. Sir. There was an attempted abduction. Elena heard Damien's voice explode from the phone speaker. Where is she? She's safe, sir. She's with me. Bring her home now. Elena cried harder hearing Damien's voice, raw with fear and rage. The guard guided her into the car gently. As they drove back, Elena held her trembling hands to her chest, trying to calm her breathing. Her ribs ached. Her throat burned. Her mind raced. He came back. He almost took her. He almost destroyed everything. When the car reached the mansion, the front doors flew open. Damien strode out, eyes blazing with a fury Elena had never seen, cold, sharp, deadly. He reached the car before the guard could even open the door. Elena stepped out shakily. Damien caught her. He didn't hesitate. He swept her into his arms, pulling her against his chest in a tight, desperate embrace. Elena, he breathed, voice trembling despite his attempt to stay controlled. Are you hurt? She buried her face in his shoulder. No, but he tried to take me. He was so close. Damien held her tighter. God, he whispered. I thought I'd lose you. Her breath hitched at the emotion in his voice. He pulled back slightly, cupping her face with both hands. Look at me, he said softly. She looked up through tears. No one, Damien growled, will ever touch you again. Not while I'm alive. More tears spilled down Elena's cheeks. Damien wiped them gently with his thumbs. She trembled. I was so scared. I know. His voice cracked. I know. I'm here now. He pressed his forehead to hers. For a long moment, they stood like that, breathing the same air, sharing the same fear, the same relief. Then Damien pulled her into his arms again, holding her like he never wanted to let go. Behind them, security rushed to tighten defenses. Inside the house, Lila peeked from the stairs, eyes wide with fear. But when she saw her mother safe in Damien's arms, she whispered, "Thank you, Mr. Moretti." Damien didn't hear her. He was too busy holding the woman he realized he could no longer live without. The mansion felt different after the attempted abduction. Every door was locked. Every window checked twice. Security guards patrolled every corner. But none of it mattered to Elena. Her hands kept shaking. Her breath kept catching. Every shadow looked like Caleb. Every noise made her jump. By evening, she sat in the living room staring at the floor, arms wrapped around herself. Damien stood at the other end of the room, watching her quietly. He had been watching her for hours, trying to give her space, trying to not overwhelm her, trying to understand how to help. But every time she shivered, something inside him twisted painfully. Finally, he walked toward her. "Elena," he said softly. She didn't look up. He knelt in front of her, his voice gentle. "Talk to me." Her lips parted, but no words came out. Her trembling grew worse. Without thinking, Damien reached out and took her hands. "Elena, you're safe." She shut her eyes tightly. It didn't feel like it today. He squeezed her hands lightly. "I know. But he won't get that close ever again." Her voice cracked. "He almost took me. If the guard hadn't been there." "But the guard was there," Damien interrupted softly. "You weren't alone. And you'll never be alone again." Her breath hitched. Damien moved to the couch and sat beside her gently. "Come here." She froze. She didn't want to fall apart in front of him. She didn't want him to think she was weak. But her body acted before her mind could argue. She leaned toward him, tears slipping down her cheeks, and Damien wrapped his arms slowly around her shoulders. She pressed her forehead to his chest. "I hate that he still scares me." "You're not weak for being scared," Damien murmured. "You've been surviving alone for too long. Let someone protect you for once." She whispered, "But you're not supposed to protect me. It's not your job." Damien exhaled shakily. "I don't care if it's my job or not." She looked up at him. His eyes, dark, intense, and impossibly gentle. He reached up and brushed a tear from her cheek with his thumb. "Elena," he said quietly, "I need you to understand something." Her breath caught. "I don't help you because I feel responsible," he whispered. "I help you because I want to. Because I care." Elena swallowed. "Why? I'm nobody special." Damien shook his head slowly. "You're wrong." He repositioned slightly, still holding her close. "When I saw you on that floor in your apartment," Damien's voice softened with memory. "When I saw your daughter cleaning at 2 in the morning because she was terrified of losing your job, something broke inside me." Elena's chest tightened. "You and Lila," he paused, searching for the right words. "You make me feel things I haven't felt in a long time." Elena looked down. "You shouldn't feel anything for me." "Too late," Damien whispered. Her heart pounded. And then, she cried. Not the quiet, controlled tears she tried to hide before, but real, painful, loud sobs, years of fear, humiliation, helplessness crashing through her like a flood. Damien didn't move. He didn't shush her. He didn't judge. He just held her. Held her like she mattered. Held her like she wasn't broken. Held her like he couldn't bear to let go. "I've been so alone," she whispered into his chest. "You're not alone anymore." Elena lifted her head. "Damien. I'm scared of loving someone again." He brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. "I'm scared too." Their eyes locked, both vulnerable, both hurting, both fighting the feelings pulling them together. Damien leaned closer, slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. Elena's heart raced. She didn't pull away. Their foreheads touched, their breaths mixing, their hands tangled together. His voice was a whisper. "You don't have to love me back. Just let me be here." Elena closed her eyes. "I want you here." Damien exhaled shakily and rested his cheek against her hair. They sat like that for a long time, two broken souls finding safety in each other's arms. Later that night, Damien insisted she stay close to him. He found a room connecting to his own and moved her there temporarily, wanting her to feel protected. He walked her to the bed and hesitated. Do you want the door open or closed? He asked gently. Elena looked up at him. Open, please. He nodded and left it halfway open, staying on the other side for a moment. If you wake up scared, he whispered, just call my name. I'll come. Her eyes softened. Thank you. He walked to his room, but before he closed his door, he looked back. Elena was watching him. Their eyes met. They didn't say anything more. They didn't need to. For the first time in years, Elena felt she could sleep without fear. But the night wasn't done with them yet. The next morning seemed calm, almost too calm. Damien left early for a meeting with his security team. Elena stayed in the mansion with Lila, trying to distract herself with small tasks, though her ribs still hurt. She was in the living room when Maria rushed in with worry on her face. Elena, Maria whispered quickly, come with me. What's wrong? Elena stood up fast. Maria didn't answer. She just took Elena's hand and led her to Damien's office where a security guard waited. The guard spoke softly. We have news. Elena froze. About Caleb? Yes. Her heart dropped. What did he do? The guard hesitated, then said, he broke into your old apartment this morning. The neighbors saw him. He destroyed everything inside. Elena's breath caught. He was shouting your name, the guard continued. He told people you're his woman, that you're being brainwashed by someone rich. Elena grabbed the back of a chair to steady herself. Oh God. Maria held her shoulders gently. You're safe here. No, Elena whispered. He's getting worse. He won't stop. Before Maria could speak, footsteps sounded behind them. Damien had returned. He rushed into the office, eyes finding Elena immediately. Elena, he said sharply. You're okay? She nodded weakly. What did Caleb do? Damien's jaw tightened. He's escalating. He broke into your apartment. He threatened neighbors. He's spiraling fast. Elena covered her mouth. Damien, what if he comes here? He won't make it past the gate. He already almost took me once, she cried. Damien stepped forward and took her face gently in his hands. Not again. Not ever. Her breathing slowed slightly as he held her steady. Damien dropped his voice. He's becoming desperate. And desperate men are dangerous. That's why we need to be smart. She nodded slowly. What do we do? Damien exhaled deeply. I'll deal with him. Elena grabbed his wrist. No. I don't want you getting hurt. Damien's expression softened. You think he scares me? He's unpredictable, Elena whispered. Damien leaned closer. I'm dangerous too. Elena shivered not from fear, but from the realization that Damien would burn the world down to keep her safe. That afternoon, everything felt tense. Lila sensed her mother's fear and stayed close beside her. They cooked with Maria for comfort. Colored pictures. Watched a movie. Tried to make the day feel normal. But Elena kept glancing at windows. At doors. At shadows. Damien checked on them every hour. Every time he saw Elena flinch at a noise, his chest tightened. By sunset, he made a decision. Elena, he said softly, come with me. She followed him to the balcony outside his office. The sky glowed orange. Birds flew across the horizon. The wind was cool. Damien leaned against the railing. You're not eating much. I'm trying, she said quietly. Damien looked at her carefully. Talk to me. Tell me what's going on inside your head. She sighed. He always warned me, Damien. He said if I ever tried to leave, he'd find me. He said I couldn't ever be safe. Damien's eyes darkened. He lied. But I believed him, she whispered. For years. I let him control my life. And now, even though I'm here, I still hear him in my head. Damien stepped closer. You're not his property. Her voice trembled. Then why does part of me still feel like I need permission to breathe? Damien took her hand gently. Because he trained you to feel small. But you're not small. Her breath faltered. You survived him, Damien continued. You protected your daughter. You got away. That takes strength. Elena blinked back tears. Sometimes I feel like I'm breaking apart. Damien's voice softened to a whisper. Then break here. With me. I'll hold the pieces. Her tears fell silently. Damien brushed one away with his thumb. Elena, he murmured, you're safe in my arms. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. She stepped into his chest slowly, resting her head against him. His arms wrapped securely around her, anchoring her, grounding her, protecting her. You feel good, she whispered without thinking. Damien smiled softly against her hair. And you feel safe. They stayed like that as the sky darkened, holding each other quietly. Later that night, as Damien stood outside her room to say goodnight, Elena hesitated. Damien, she whispered, can you stay? Just until I fall asleep. His breath caught. He nodded wordlessly. She lay down carefully. Damien sat beside her on the edge of the bed. Talk to me, she murmured. Damien took a slow breath. My mother was abused, he stopped, surprised at his own words. He had never told anyone this. I was young. I couldn't protect her. She died because no one helped her. Elena stared at him, shocked. I swore I'd never let another woman suffer if I could stop it, he continued quietly. That's why I care so much. Not out of pity, but because I know the darkness you've lived through. Elena's eyes filled again. She reached up and gently touched his cheek. I'm sorry, she whispered. Damien held her hand to his face. Don't be. It made me who I am. Elena whispered, a protector. Damien swallowed hard. If that's what you need, yes. Her breathing slowed. Her eyes fluttered. Damien stayed until her breathing evened out completely. He stood quietly and turned to leave. But just as he stepped toward the door, his phone vibrated. A message from his security team. Caleb spotted near the outer perimeter. Armed. Moving fast. Damien froze, blood turning to ice. This was it. The final strike. Damien looked back at Elena sleeping peacefully. He clenched his fists. Not tonight, he whispered fiercely. Not ever again. And he went to war. Damien moved like a shadow down the hallway, silent but charged with purpose. His jaw was tight, his eyes sharp with the kind of rage that made grown men tremble. The message replayed in his mind. Caleb spotted near the perimeter. Armed. Moving fast. He reached the security control room in seconds. Guards straightened immediately. Where is he now? Damien demanded. A guard pointed at the live monitor. Outer fence. He hasn't reached the main gate yet. Damien leaned closer, eyes narrowing. There he was. Caleb. Sweaty. Ragged. Wild-eyed. Holding a weapon. Pacing. Shouting Elena's name into the darkness like a madman. Damien's chest tightened with fury. He thinks he can walk into my home, Damien said, voice low and dangerous. He's insane. Another guard cleared his throat hesitantly. Sir, he may be trying to draw you out. Damien's jaw flexed. Let him try. He straightened, ice in his veins. Lock down the mansion. No one in or out. Station men at every exit. No mistakes. Yes, sir. Meanwhile, Elena slept peacefully in her bed, unaware of the danger drawing closer. Her breathing was calm for the first time in days. Damien looked through the crack in her doorway. She looked peaceful. Too peaceful. He imagined Caleb's hands on her throat, his threats, her screams. Rage cut through Damien's chest like a blade. He whispered, I won't let him ruin this again. Then he closed the door quietly and headed downstairs. Outside, the night was cool and eerily silent. Damien approached his men near the main entrance. They were heavily armed, tense, watching the perimeter cameras. A guard held out a bulletproof vest. Sir, you should wear this. Damien ignored it. I don't need it. Sir. I said no. The guard stepped back. Damien's voice was calm, but the storm in him was boiling. Just then, a second guard ran up. Sir. There's movement by the east wall. Show me. They switched the feed. Damien's blood turned to ice. Caleb wasn't alone. 2 men. Maybe 3. All armed. This wasn't just a desperate ex. This was a planned attack. The guard looked at Damien nervously. Sir, they're trying to break the fence. Damien's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. Not tonight. He turned toward the gate. Open it. Sir. Open. The gate. The guard swallowed hard but obeyed. The iron gates slowly parted. Damien stepped outside. Alone. The night smelled of tension, metal and cold air. Caleb froze when he saw Damien walking toward him, hands relaxed at his sides, posture calm but deadly. For a moment, Caleb looked almost startled. Then he sneered. Where is she? Where's my Elena? Damien kept walking. You're Elena. Caleb gritted his teeth. She's mine. She always was. She knows it. And that little brat knows it too. Damien's eyes went black. You don't talk about them, he said softly. Caleb laughed high, unhinged, cruel. What are you gonna do? Kill me? You think she'll stay with you when she sees what you really are? Damien stopped 3 feet away. You hurt her, he said quietly. Caleb smirked. She deserved it. She never listened. Damien's fists clenched. You hurt her daughter. Caleb shrugged. Kids heal. Damien's breathing changed. Slower. Colder. You showed up at my home, Damien continued, armed. Ready to take her. Caleb stepped forward aggressively. Because she's mine. Damien raised his eyes slowly. No, he said softly. She isn't. Before Caleb could speak again. It happened fast. Caleb lunged, raising his weapon. Damien grabbed Caleb's wrist, twisting it sharply. The weapon clattered to the ground. Caleb screamed. Damien slammed him backward into the ground with a force that shook the dirt. Caleb groaned, coughing. Damien knelt beside him, pressing his forearm against Caleb's throat. Not enough to kill, but enough to silence. You will never touch Elena again, Damien said in a cold whisper. You will never touch Lila again. You won't even come near their shadows. Caleb spat blood. You think she'll love you? You're nothing but a monster in a suit. Damien leaned closer. Maybe, he said calmly. But I'm not the monster who made her bleed. For the first time, fear flickered in Caleb's eyes. Damien stood and signaled his men. Take him. Guards rushed in, pinning Caleb. He struggled like an animal. As they dragged him away, Caleb screamed, She's mine. She'll never be yours. Damien didn't look at him. He walked back toward the mansion, hands trembling not from fear, but from the realization of how close he had come to losing control. Losing Elena. Losing everything he didn't know he wanted until now. Inside the mansion, Elena woke abruptly. Her heart raced. Something was wrong. She stepped out of bed slowly, her ribs aching. The hallway was quiet, too quiet. She walked toward the balcony outside Damien's office. When she looked down into the courtyard, she froze. Damien stood outside, chest rising and falling hard. Guards surrounding him. A commotion near the gates. Men dragging someone away. A weak lamp glowed on the ground. Elena squinted. The man being dragged. No. No. She gasped, covering her mouth. Caleb. Her legs nearly gave out. This was real. It was all real. Suddenly Damien looked up. Their eyes met from the ground to the balcony. He looked tired. Worn. Fierce. Alive. And Elena. Elena saw something new in his eyes. Relief. As if seeing her standing there, safe and whole, meant everything. Her breath trembled. He walked toward the mansion doors without looking away from her. Elena backed away from the balcony, heart pounding. When she heard the front door open, she rushed down the stairs, halfway forgetting the pain in her body. Damien entered the foyer, wiping blood from his knuckles. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair disheveled, his breathing heavy. Elena whispered, Damien, are you hurt? He looked at her. Really looked at her. Like she was the only thing grounding him. I'm fine, he whispered. Elena stepped closer. What did you do? Damien's voice softened. What I had to. Her eyes filled. Did he? He'll never come near you again, Damien said simply. Elena trembled. Something inside her broke, fear, gratitude, relief, all bursting through her at once. She threw her arms around him. Damien stiffened in surprise, then melted into the embrace, wrapping his arms tightly around her, pulling her close. "Thank you," Elena whispered into his chest. "Thank you for saving me." Damien closed his eyes. "You saved me too," he murmured. They stayed like that, holding each other, breathing each other in. Connected. Safe. Whole. Later that night, Elena made tea and brought it to the living room where Damien sat in silence. "You should rest," she said softly. "So should you." She sat beside him. "You didn't have to fight him yourself." "I did," Damien said. "For you." Elena looked down. "Why?" He turned to her. "You know why." Elena's heart trembled. She whispered, "Damien, I don't know if I'm ready for anything. I don't know if I can love again." "I'm not asking you to," he said softly. "I'm asking you to let me protect you. Let me show you what it feels like to be safe." Her eyes shined. "I don't know how." He smiled gently, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Then let me teach you." Elena exhaled shakily. Then she did something she never imagined she would do. She took Damien's hand. And held it. Damien looked down at their joined hands, then back at her. "Elena." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Stay with me," she whispered. He pulled her closer. "I'm not going anywhere." The night was quiet after that. No shouting. No fear. No shadows at the window. Just two broken people. Healing in each other's arms. And for the first time, Elena felt her heart beating for something other than survival. It beat for hope. The next morning, sunlight filled the mansion with a soft gold glow. Elena woke in the room connecting to Damien's, her body lighter than it had felt in years. The pain in her ribs was still there, but the pain in her heart had eased. When she stepped into the hallway, she heard laughter. Laughter. She followed the sound to the kitchen. Lila sat on the counter, swinging her legs while Maria prepared breakfast. Damien stood nearby, arms crossed, pretending to supervise. "You're doing it wrong," Lila giggled as Maria flipped pancakes. Damien raised an eyebrow. "I'm not even touching anything." "Exactly. That's why it's wrong," Lila teased. Maria chuckled. "She's right. You could at least help." Damien muttered, "Help how?" "Stir the batter," Maria said, handing him a bowl. Damien obeyed, stirring slowly. Lila snorted. "You stir like a tired robot." Elena laughed softly from the doorway. Everyone turned. Lila squealed. "Mom." Elena walked in and hugged her daughter. Then she looked at Damien. He looked at her like she was the sunrise itself. "You slept?" he asked. "More than usual," she admitted. Damien nodded, visibly relieved. They all sat at the table. For the first time in Elena's life, she felt like she belonged at a breakfast table. A real family table. She watched Lila laugh, Damien smile softly, Maria serve warm food, sunlight filling the room like a blessing. It felt like the beginning of something beautiful. Later that day, after breakfast, Damien asked Elena to join him in the garden. They walked slowly between roses and trimmed hedges. "Elena," Damien began carefully, "there's something we need to discuss." Her heart skipped. "What is it?" He turned to face her fully. "I want you and Lila to stay here." Elena froze. "Stay here?" "Yes. For as long as you want. Even, permanently." Her breath trembled. "Damien, we can't live off you forever." "You're not living off me," Damien said firmly. "This is your home now." Elena shook her head, overwhelmed. "I don't deserve this." "You deserve peace," Damien whispered. "You deserve safety. You deserve a life that doesn't hurt." Tears filled her eyes. Damien stepped closer. "Elena, let me give that to you." She whispered, "Why me?" Damien cupped her cheek gently. "Because you made me feel alive again." Her breath caught. Because she felt it too. Slowly, Elena leaned forward, resting her forehead against his. "Damien," she whispered. His hands slid to her waist, holding her gently but firmly. "Elena," he breathed, "tell me to stop, and I will." She closed her eyes. "I don't want you to stop." Damien's lips brushed hers softly. A slow, careful kiss. Not passionate. but healing. Honest. Warm. When they pulled apart, Elena's heart fluttered wildly. Damien whispered, "Let me take care of you." She nodded slowly. "Ok." He arranged legal protection for them. He watched over Elena like she was the most precious thing he had ever held. Weeks passed. Then months. Their bond deepened. And one quiet evening, after dinner, Damien stood in front of Elena holding a small velvet box. Her breath caught. Damien. He opened it. A beautiful, simple ring. Silver. Elegant. Perfect. "Elena Mitchell," Damien said softly, voice thick with emotion, "I want to marry you." Her eyes filled instantly. "Damien. I want to be your husband. I want to be Lila's father. I want to be the one who protects you every day of my life." A tear slid down Elena's cheek. "Damien, yes, yes, I'll marry you." He slipped the ring onto her shaking hand. Lila burst into tears of joy when she heard the news. 3 months later, in the mansion's garden, they married under warm sunlight. Elena wore a simple white dress. Damien wore a black suit. Lila stood beside them holding flowers. When Damien vowed to love and protect them forever, he cried. When Lila ran into his arms yelling, "Dad," he cried harder. And when Elena kissed him gently and whispered, "We're a family now," he held her as if she were the greatest blessing of his life. The story ended not with fear, but with healing. Not with blood, but with love. Elena found safety. Damien found peace. And Lila found a father. Together, they built a new life. A new name. A new home. A new family. Forever. If this story pulled you in, imagine what the next one will do. Hit subscribe right now before you forget. Because the next chapter of drama, danger, and heart-stopping emotion drops soon. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. Like the video, drop a comment, and I'll see you in the next story.